Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It is Vlogentines day 6, or February 6th, and it's pretty late in the day. Today's been relatively uneventful. I just had a relatively laid back day, rest my lungs from yesterday when I really strained them too hard. So I just need a day to recover and my throat's still a bit sore, but I might also be coming down with a bit of a cold, I'm not sure. All the more reason to do my self-care and get sleep and all that fun stuff. But yes, otherwise very little has happened today for me. Kayla has actually finally finished dyeing her hair, a process that has been going on for a while, and hopefully she'll be happy with it. It's still currently wrapped up in a towel above her head. She may be filming a video later about her hair dyeing journey, or she may not. I don't know. If she's planning to, I will link it, and if not, there will be no link because there'll be no video. But yes. Yeah, so today we can continue the, apparently this has turned into a 3-part video of taking care of your mental health, both through self-care, which was my first video, or the process of going to seek help, which was my second video, and the various options that you have, both professional and sort of less professional, but better than just talking to your friends, which is also something that you can do. Today, we move on to the third part of this, which was supposed to be part of yesterday's video, but I had so much to say it had to be its own video, of medication and various other forms of treatment. If, ideally, in an ideal situation, someone can do enough self-care and their mental health will then be fine. If that's not enough, they will need to seek help. Sometimes just talking about stuff and understanding it is enough. Sometimes that takes a while. Sometimes it's relatively short, depending on what you have, what your issues are, how easy they are to work through, etc. If that is also not enough, or working too slowly, or just doesn't seem like it's for you, you're having trouble getting a good counselor, a good therapist, stuck on a wait list like me, then there's the other alternative of medication. Medication is something that is very stigmatized. I see all over my Facebook. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, those kind of posts that are like a bunch of pill bottles. This is not a cure, and then a forced backdrop and be like, this is a cure. It's just like, oh, you don't need medication. You just need to get out in nature and your brain problems will magically fix themselves through the healing power of the universe. Or whatever. I know some people who are very big believers in the inherent power of the universe at large, so I'm not going to bash on that. I haven't really looked into enough of stuff like that. That wasn't my point, that is, oh, that's ridiculous. No, it was that even assuming that the universe I'm just rambling. My point is that mental health can't just be solved by changing your diet or exercising more or doing various other things that all generally fall under the realm of self-care. They will often help. If you have a really minor problem, they may make it manageable enough that you don't need to do anything other than your self-care, in which case, great. But if they don't, or if someone doesn't have the energy or means to go jogging on a daily basis, or whatever else people are recommending, there's nothing wrong with seeking, medical attention. As in, not from doctors, because I covered that yesterday, as in solutions in the form of medicine. Medication or various stuff like that. It's one of my favorite sayings regarding mental health, especially in medication, is if you can't produce your own neurotransmitters, store-bought is okay. Because that's really all that most mental health meds are. They basically work to remedy a chemical imbalance in your brain. Like, I have ADHD. That means that my brain does not produce enough dopamine, which is sort of a reward chemical. Like, when you accomplish a thing and it feels good, that's your brain releasing dopamine as a motivational tool. It's like, it'll feel really good when it's done. That kind of thing. My brain doesn't really produce enough of that to really let me motivate myself by it'll feel good when it's done. But instead my brain usually goes to, it may feel good when it's done, but it'll definitely feel good to play video games for 6 hours. One of these is much more useful than the other. So what my meds do is they compensate for my low production of dopamine and balance out the levels of dopamine in my brain. So that I can theoretically have the general motivation systems working as well as anyone else. Assuming my meds work perfectly, which they don't. Meds don't work perfectly. Meds are not a cure. They can remove your symptoms. They can manage the root cause and make it so that it doesn't really affect your life much, but it's still there. Sometimes meds are just a stopgap solution to allow you to pick yourself up out of your life is just a complete mess, and that's making it impossible for you to really improve your own mental health. Meds can work as a stopgap to allow you a little boost so that you can get to a position where you can then take care of yourself better. For some people. For other people, they will need meds for the foreseeable future, potentially for the rest of their lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that they are weak or that they are drug addicts or any of the various things I see attached to people who take prescription medication. I'm on prescription medication for my ADHD, my depression, and my acne. Which those of you who know me a while, you will see that my face has a lot less acne than it normally does, and that's because of my medication. Do I need those things to survive? No, I don't. Other people do. There are a lot of people who, without their antidepressants, are at great risk of suicide or self-harm, of lesser varieties, or any number of things, or like heart attacks, or from stress, or seizures, or any number of things that medication can make you, if not safe from those, but make them a lot less likely to happen.
One thing I always like,
my wife,
is that a lot of people have no problem with medications to stop seizures or help medications that help your infection that's in your body, but they have a problem with your body not producing something enough, but they have a problem with you taking that medication for it when there's no difference between an infection in your body and something not producing enough in your body. You need help. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's that general double standard that people hold it to of it's totally okay to be on like Tylenol 3s with codeine if you're like recovering from like a sprained ankle or something, like a really badly sprained or broken ankle. But it is not okay to get prescription drugs for depression or anxiety or whatever else you need a medication for. Despite the fact that they are doing essentially the same thing. They are remedying a problem in your body. Your mind is part of your body. It is a significantly more complicated part of your body, one that psychiatrists and various other doctors do not fully understand, which makes diagnosing people and choosing what medications are for them often a complete nightmare. If you are among those many people who have bounced around between a few different medications to have them not work or give you awful side effects, that is because the field of mental health, in terms of like scientific study, has a long ways to go. A lot of the drugs that we use regularly for mental health, we know how they work, what they do, but we don't know why they need to do that. Like, we don't necessarily know why depression is caused by low serotonin production in your brain. Or, like, we sort of do, but it's that, like, as a surface thing. Serotonin makes you feel good. But we don't know enough to really understand and accurately create drugs to really solve the problems, because we don't know the root causes, we just know the symptoms. And that's still a long way better than even like 20 years ago or so. Like back when antidepressants, the first wave of SSRIs were rolling out, and they were chock full of terrible side effects. And to the point where so many people are still incredibly wary of SSRIs in general, which are a lot of antidepressants. It's true that SSRIs do have a whole bunch of really bad withdrawal side effects, but generally if you take them properly, they're not really any worse than any other med for potential side effects. Again, side effects happen because the brain is complicated. With psychiatrists and pharmacists are doing the best they can, and a way to help them do more is by stopping criticizing people for using mental health drugs. If we keep criticizing and stigmatizing people who use those drugs, any push for adding more money for research to make those drugs better or stuff like that will get also stigmatized, and generally there'll be less money for it. But I've gone on a bit of a tangent there.
Can I say something?
Oh, okay, that's something to say. Yes?
There's also nothing wrong with bouncing around medications. Finding the right medication for you is very important, and you do have to stick it out for a while. But if you know that a medication is not working for you, do tell your doctor. Be like, no, I'm not going to take your advice on this. I'm going to tell you this medication is not working for me. Like, I tried Concerta for my ADHD, and I knew right away that it was not for me. It made me very unfocused. And my doctor was like, no, you must try it for X, Y, and Z long. And I'm like, no, I will not, because it's not working for me. It's doing the opposite problem.
It's a very good point. One that I sort of touched on before and then got distracted on, of that some people will bounce around between meds for a long time. That's okay. Different meds affect different people in different ways. It makes it really hard to match meds to people. So if you tried getting medication for whatever problem you have and it didn't work out, there are tons of other drugs, unless you have like a really uncommon disorder, in which case there may only be a few different drugs. But for more common ones like depression, anxiety, ADHD, stuff like that, like bipolar, there are lots of different potential medications for them. So if one doesn't work for you, even if one doesn't work for you terribly badly, a friend of mine went on SSRIs and had side effects that lasted for about 5 years afterwards. That is a very rare case, and the side effects were comparatively mild. But it really made her rather not the biggest fan of the mental health system, or at least of the prescribing of drugs. But it's really hard to match drugs to people. And so if you're in that position, don't give up hope. Try a different drug. If you want to try a non-medicinal approach, try getting a therapist. Try doing any of the other things I mentioned in my last video. I'm not being like, oh, you must get meds if whatever. It's just, sometimes medications will not work for an individual person. Like, individual medications won't work, and that's okay. Sometimes medications won't work as well as you would like them to. That's the boat I'm in. Both my depression medication and my ADHD medication work, in that if I don't take them, it's really, really obvious that they are not doing their jobs. But they might be able to work better if I changed my drug or if I changed my dosage. That's one of the reasons I'm wanting a psychiatrist, so I can talk to them about these kind of things. So, on that note of drugs that work but may not work as well as you'd like, It is very, 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 very rare that a drug will actually solve a major problem. If you have major issues with anxiety and you get put on antidepressants and you don't magically feel normal, that doesn't mean the drugs aren't working. That just means that they're not perfect, which they're not. All they do is attempt to correct the chemical imbalance in your brain. But all of the damage that's already been done to it, reinforcing self-destructive behaviors, general low self-esteem, all the various other side effects of having depression for a long period of time, the meds don't do anything about those. All they do is allow your brain to function as normal as optimally as it can. Yes, thank you. I try and avoid using words of like normal, but neurotypical, not everyone understands. But yes, meds very rarely will solve the problem. A lot of the time, the most they can do is give you the ability to work on your own problems. And trust me, that can take a really, really long time. Especially if it's personality disorder style things where you have to unlearn a ton of behaviors. Or stuff like that has to do with trauma or abuse, in which case you have to go through a ton of unlearning behaviors as well as learning to be able to trust people or trust a situation again. All of which take a long time. And that's okay. It's unfortunate. It would be nice if mental health recovery was an easy thing that you could just do like that. But it's not. Unfortunately. And so if you are like me and you've been on your road of mental health recovery for years and you're only seeing a little progress, that's okay. Progress takes time. Try not to measure your progress based on last week, but on last year. Like, this is a thing that I can now do that I never used to be able to do. Even if it's a comparatively small thing, it's still progress. And that's good. Any progress is good. Your recovery will take as long as it takes. You can do everything right in the recovery game, like do your self-care, go to therapy, get meds that actually work for you, and it can still take a long time, and that's okay. There is nothing wrong with not being able to solve your mental health problems right away. A lot of people don't understand that. And also a lot of people will assume that you're on meds now. Why are you not a fully functioning individual? Because meds don't work like that. They don't fix all your problems. They just counteract what is causing those problems. The problems are all still there, and you have to work on those. Or you and your therapist have to work on those, or whatever the situation is. But it's okay that your recovery will take time. It's okay if your meds do not make your brain function as highly as you would like. If that's the case, you can talk to your doctor and see if you can get different meds. Maybe they'll work better, maybe they won't. If they don't, you can always go back to the ones that you're on right now. There's something else I was wanting to talk about regarding medication. I'm totally blanking on what it is. Oh, the stigma about going on medication. So once again, this is something that I wish I knew when I was younger. I resisted going on antidepressants for years because I was of the mindset of, I can handle it. It's just a small problem. As long as I keep my stress level low, it doesn't bother me that much. Of course, keeping your stress level low is often outside of your control, especially when you're in university and falling behind on your work because you have a terrible work ethic because of your ADHD. But yeah, so I had a lot of delusions about my own ability to handle my problems. And I'm sure lots of people have those. But I also had this pervasive idea in my head that going on antidepressants meant admitting that I was crazy, or that I was so far gone that I needed medication, I couldn't handle it on my own, that I was weak, or anything like that. None of those are true. Like I was saying earlier, my current medications, I don't need those to survive, but they make my life significantly easier. And that's a good thing. That's what they're for. Medication is not just to keep people alive. It's to keep people healthy. It's to keep people able to be productive. It's to allow them to not be held back by their own brains. If you are the kind of person who wants to go into a career that requires a huge amount of organization and day planning and structure and stuff like that, and you have ADHD, like me, without medication, your chances of achieving that career are slim to none, given that ADHD, at least in me, and I know in a lot of other people, maybe not everyone, totals your ability to be organized. So medication allows you to not be held back by that, or not be held back by that as much. But once again, meds don't fix the problem. Meds just essentially level the playing field so that you are more able to fix the problem yourself, or with your therapist. But yeah, I really wish I'd went on antidepressants years ago. Well, I did go on years ago. I mean, like years before I actually did. Same with I wish I'd went on anti-anxiety meds years ago. I still haven't. I totally forgot to make an appointment with my doctor today because I forgot to do it yesterday, and I was going to book a follow-up appointment today so I could do that, but I forgot. I'll try and do that tomorrow. But anxiety was another one that it only really bothered me when my stress level was high, and if I could just keep my stress low, then it wouldn't bother me. I kept saying that over and over and over again for probably about 6 years now. And I'm only now getting to the point where I can be like, yeah, I think I need some anti-anxiety meds. Even if it's just for as needed if I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. Just as so I have them. Not necessarily that I need to use them every day, but just to have them in case I do need them. Because there's so much stigma about being on medication, it's taken me 6 years to get to that point. And hopefully that stigma will continue to lessen until people can actually not feel ashamed of their brain, of like trying to make their brain work the way they'd like it to. Why is that a shameful thing? Why do we shame people for wanting to have a functional brain? Like a fully functional brain. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. That seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to want. To be able to be functional, to be able to not be held back by like overwhelming anxiety about the prospect of going to hang out with people that you really want to hang out with, but because they've called it last minute, you just are overwhelmed and can't do it, even though you'd really like to hang out with them. That happens to me a lot. It happens to Kayla a lot. I'm sure it happens to a ton of people a lot. Stuff like that is things that shouldn't be a problem. It's a running joke between me and Kayla of like, I don't understand how some people are just able to do things because they want to do them, and then they just do them. Like it seems like a silly thing, but for people with mental health difficulties like me or Kayla and tons of other people. Hello everyone, I'm back. As I was saying, the ability to want to do a thing and then do a thing is very overrated. Well, not overrated. Undervalued. It's taken for granted by a lot of people because a lot of people have no trouble doing that. For people with mental health difficulties, such things can sometimes be nigh impossible. You can be in a situation where there's something you've been looking forward to for months, and when that happens, you just don't have the energy to do it. And even though you've been looking forward to it for months and you really want to go, you just don't have the energy to get out of bed. Being on meds, assuming the meds work, make those days not always that they never happen, but they happen significantly less often, so that you can more reliably do simple things like stay on top of your laundry, run the dishwasher every once in a while when you need to do it instead of only doing it when you are out of dishes, or stuff like that, like empty your cat's litter box. All those various things that most of the time you need to do every few days or so, but take energy. And if you have mental health issues, sometimes you just don't have that energy. Meds allow you to have that energy more often and be able to more reliably be functional. It's not the best word, but I don't really know a better word, because it's sort of condescending of that. Without meds, you are non-functional and you aren't able to do things, which is really condescending. But as in being able to appear more functional to the outside world. Still not the best, but it's, I suppose, slightly less condescending. It allows you to live the kind of life, well, live closer to the kind of life you would like if you didn't have mental health issues. And why, I don't understand why people seem to think that that is too much to ask. Why is it unreasonable for someone to want to be able to pretty reliably be able to go to a thing they've been excited about for months, to be able to hang out with their friends when their friends ask, to be able to just not go a day without crying, or stuff like that. These are all very simple things, but if you have if you have unmedicated, untreated mental health issues, these could be things that you have trouble doing, often or sometimes at all. I know there are times, especially when before I went on my meds, or at times when I've been off my meds for various reasons, usually through prescription shenanigans, that I often have those troubles where I go like a week of just sitting at my computer and doing nothing. Just playing video games all day, every day for like a week. Because that's all I have the energy for. And my life shouldn't have to be like that. No one's life should have to be like that. If people want to spend their whole day playing video games, that's a different thing. But they shouldn't be put into a situation where they feel that's the only thing they have energy to do, is just things that don't involve any effort or moving. Because that's a really, really sad life. But anyway, medication is something that is designed to help people. If you feel like you would benefit from medication, talk to your doctor. If you feel like you'd benefit from being on different medication, also talk to your doctor. Your doctor's primary interest is your health. They may advise differently, but most of the time, they will listen to you if you say, this drug isn't working for me, I want to stop. Some certain drugs, you can't just stop. You have to wean yourself off or have major side effects. So sometimes you can't just be like, I don't want to take my SSRIs anymore. I'm just going to stop taking them. That's a bad idea. Don't do it. If you want to stop taking SSRIs or something that has major withdrawal things, talk to your doctor. They will slowly lower your dosage until you can then not be on them. Quitting cold turkey of a medication with withdrawal side effects is not a good idea. Don't do that. Just don't. But yeah, medication is to help people. And the stigma about it prevents people from getting that help. It forces them to just accept their lot in life, that they are doomed to sit around every day because that's all they have the energy to do. And that's really not fair to them. It's something that we should try to change. And thankfully it is changing, slowly. But I'm hoping videos like this will, if I can just reach someone and have them be like, oh, I guess it's really not such a bad thing to go on antidepressants because I cry every day and that's not a normal thing. If I can just reach one person, then that's great. That's made my day. But yeah, it's just an important message that I wish I had known, and I'm trying to help other people learn from my mistakes. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, so I know what kind of videos people like. If you want to see more videos from me, subscribe to my channel. If you want to see more videos like this, leave it in a comment and tell me that you really love me talking about mental health. If you want to see videos that are not about mental health, then leave it in a comment and say, can you talk about things other than mental health? Because mental health is a really heavy issue, and it's something that not everyone is comfortable talking about or listening to, and is often not really very fun. My videos are hardly ever fun, but anyway. Also, there's a little notification icon, it's a little bell up in the corner that will give you notifications when I post videos, so that you can keep track of my incredibly erratic posting schedule. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you listened. That so if you or someone you know is debating whether or not they should go on meds, that this will help at least counterbalance the fears of people thinking they're a freak. Because you're not. If you're on meds, you are just a human with an imbalance in your brain. It happens. It's no different than, in terms of having a not fully functioning brain is no different than having a not fully functioning body. It's just a thing. It's something that modern medicine is able to help with. So why not avail yourself of it? Try and make yourself the happiest you can be. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I will see you guys all tomorrow. Bye!